Hello, 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 people of God. I am Pastor Lisa Armstrong, and I am excited tonight to talk about Morning Glory on Saturday, April 29th at 10 a.m. And it will be held at the Well in Salisbury, Maryland. I am super duper excited to bring on one of the participants for Morning Glory, Prophetic Psalmist Brandi Wallace. And I'm going to bring her on right now. We're going to jump right on in. We're not waiting for nobody tonight. We're going to just get it started. Hey, woman of God.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I'm amazing. Awesome.
Good, good, good. I am excited about Saturday. I have been dreaming about Saturday, talking about Saturday, and I wanted to bring you on just to let the people know who you are and what we are going to be doing on Saturday, or specifically your role on Saturday. And just give us a little background of who you are, how you got started as a prophetic psalmist, and also what has God downloaded to you so far for about Saturday.
Awesome. Absolutely. So, for those of you who do not know who I am Prophetess Brandi Wallace, and I first I am a lovely member at LTM Living by Truth Ministry, and so I know everybody's like wondering like, okay, like wow, I didn't know Brandy can sing. And so one of the things that um, I have not been able to really just thrive in when it comes to one of my gifts is being the prophetic psalmist.
Mhm.
So just a quick testimony of how all of this came about. So roughly I think in 2007, I moved away from the Eastern Shore, which then being a part of a ministry in Baltimore, Maryland around that particular time. And I remember the man of God, Apostle Damian Hinton, he called me out. And so when he called me out, he said, "Woman of God," he said, "I have to, the Lord told me to tell you that he loves to hear you sing." And at this time, this is not something that I was doing publicly. I do a lot of prophetic worship in my own private time. And so he told me that he said that the Lord loves to hear me sing
Mhm.
and that I was a prophetic psalmist. One of the things he spoke to was a part of who I am in the kingdom. And at that time, I had no clue that this is what the Lord was calling me to do. And so when he revealed that, he said, "So moving forward, when I go out and minister, you are to sing before I preach." So I said, "Okay." And so then he ended up giving me a hymn.
Mhm.
I can't even remember the name right now. I know it's going to come back to me because I sing it all the time. But he gave me a hymn. He said, "I want you to learn this hymn." So I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "So now I have to do what I do in my private time publicly."
Mhm.
I was worried about, how I sounded because this is something that I've never done.
Mhm.
The most that I've done musically is actually sing on a choir. I used to sing with Power Five Youth,
Okay.
Gary LeVere and Anthony Dixon being the director, and
Mhm.
the alto, and
Mhm.
singing on the choir with my dad's ministry. That's all I've done.
Right.
So now here it is. I'm in a new place,
Mhm.
new region, and here it is that I am now being introduced as a prophetic psalmist. And so that's what I
Mhm.
did for Apostle Damian Hinton for about a year and a half or so.
Mhm.
Also sung on the praise and worship team.
Mhm.
Moving forward, left left the ministry, and I ended up joining another ministry, and again singing on the praise and worship team.
Mhm.
However, I was not flowing as a prophetic psalmist, and so therefore it was only about that time that I was with Apostle Damien, where I just really just was flowing in as a psalmist.
Mhm.
And at that time I really wasn't flowing like prophetically. I didn't even know anything about it. All I knew is that I was called to be a prophet. He is one of
Mhm.
the ones who actually told me who I was in the prophetic. So this
Mhm.
is where my foundation came, as me being birthed out as a prophet.
Mhm.
And so I said that was about, so roughly around like that was 2009, roughly like 2008, 2009,
Mhm.
leaving, being in, still just um, singing on a praise and worship team.
Mhm.
Around about 2011, I was with a friend and we were driving in the car, and all of a sudden she goes, "Brandy, oh my God." She was like, "Do you sing?" I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? She said, "Mm-mm." She
Mhm.
said, "God loves to hear you sing. He
Wow.
loves to hear from you." She
Mhm.
said, "You are his prophetic psalmist." And I looked at her and my mouth dropped.
Mhm.
And I said, "It's so crazy that you said that, because I have not done it in years."
Mhm.
And so for you to tell me this, I said, "This is the very thing." I said, Apostle Damien Hinton was the one who actually told me this when I first came to Baltimore.
Mhm.
She said, "No." She said, "You have to operate in that gift." She was like, "God, really wants to hear from you prophetically."
Mhm. Mhm.
So I said, "Okay." So I'm thinking like, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm really not a part of a ministry. And, I mean, nobody knows who I am and things of that nature. So I started to increase, my singing in worship
Mhm.
private. And with that being said, I've actually, been able, when I go into prayer, I'm able to hear prophetically what heaven was playing in heaven, or what's being said, and I
Mhm.
sing it. And so
Wow.
there are times where, so I actually have something on my phone where in prayer I've actually, sung a new song in prayer.
Wow.
And so that's just something that I do in my private time.
Mhm.
So moving forward in 2016, here it is. I'm going to another ministry, and this is where I receive a lot of my teaching and learning as far as who I am in the prophetic as a prophet. And
Mhm.
once again, the prophetic psalmist comes back up.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, God, I can't get away from this. But at
Right.
the same time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Reason being is because we know when you're not popular,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's like, okay, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do it? Because,
Right.
you keep calling me to this, but I don't know what else to do. And at that time, so um, my leader at that time started to cultivate that gift. And so that's where you see the video that you shared.
Mhm. Yep.
And I began to sing, you know, at during altar call, or I will
Mhm.
sing before I minister, or I will sing, for praise and worship. I actually had to sing sermonic selections,
Mhm.
for my leader at the time. So that was just where it started to become even more cultivated, and
Mhm.
even in my prayer time. So it's something that I still do,
Mhm.
but this is it's not new. It's just been a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Get another call, and this is where you come in. Tell
Yeah.
you, share your response, because it was funny, because when God, you told me when God told you, you was like, "God, are you sure?"
Uh-huh. I did. I
Which
did.
I can understand, because nobody has heard me,
Mhm.
seen anything. You see everybody, that who
Mhm.
are, just actively ministering through, by way of song, praise or worship lead, or whatever.
Right.
So when you called me, it
Mhm.
was crazy how a week before I literally told God, I said, "Okay, God, I know I have to get back to just singing again." And then
Mhm.
you called me, and I said, "Okay, God,
Yeah.
this is confirmation." And that's when I began to share, my story. And to be honest, the reason why I struggle and why it's so many years in between is because way in the beginning, I
Mhm.
was actually told, um, when I was trying
Mhm.
sing and be in the forefront and sing. When when I started out, and this was before Baltimore, I was actually told you were not called to be a front lead singer. You were called to be in the background.
Wow.
That was the first thing that was said to me. So
Mm-hmm.
here it is years later when God uses Apostle Damian Hinton to say he loves to hear from me
Mm-hmm.
as the psalmist, and he loves my voice, and you are a prophetic psalmist. Here it is. Now here's the war.
Yeah.
The war, and it's not just not it was just the identity as
Mm-hmm.
far as like what this is what I was told years ago.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about it is God has a way of really just bringing restoration to a
Mm-hmm.
situation. And so it just so happened the same person that ended up telling me this ended up having to play behind me.
Wow.
Ended
Wow.
up playing behind me, and so we actually had a conversation. I said, "You remember when you said this to me?" And it was like, "You know what? I didn't." And then I'm
Wow.
like, "I said that to you?" Because they were working with me, and
Mm-hmm.
they coached me and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Wow, like you're really good. Just you have your own sound. Don't try to be like him." Like, so he coached me, and so in that moment, I felt like God was like, go ahead and share with him. And so
Right.
he didn't know that it
Mm-hmm.
was said, but I did receive an apology
Awesome.
and an encouragement in the midst. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't no, oh, I don't remember saying it, so I didn't say it. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, wow, you know what? If I did say it, I'm so sorry, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so from there, everything has been. But I've, never just put myself in a position or even, go to a ministry and say, hey, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
prophetic psalmist. I would love to sing, on the praise and worship team. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my journey. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so, moving forward, now that Saturday is coming,
Mm-hmm.
I've just really been spending time and just basking in this part of who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and just understanding that this is just who God called me to be, and
Right.
to, never apologize for it. And so one of the things that the Lord ended up, well, a couple of things that the Lord ended up dealing with me. So before I get into, the personal piece as far as Saturday, uh,
Mm-hmm.
what he first started sharing with me, like once I said yes to the
Mm-hmm.
assignment, he started to show me in reference to the glory. So we know
Mm-hmm.
that it is, title morning glory, but he
Mm-hmm.
started to really just deal with me about his glory.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people don't really know about this type of glory, but it's called Kael glory.
Mm-hmm.
And Kael glory is actually the powerful, great glory of Christ
Mm-hmm.
in every believer. This is not the prophetic, or it's in every believer. So therefore, if you are a believer of Christ, you are are able to experience God's Kael glory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in this is a an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, when we look at the scriptures, and I'm just referencing to my note, we're looking at the scriptures, Colossians 1:27, where it says, paraphrasing, Christ in you, the hope of glory. So this
Glory.
is where we get
Mm-hmm.
our glory from.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Holy Spirit will fill us and awaken us, and so therefore there's going to be an awakening. But then also too, there's going to be a double glory, and the double glory is Kael glory and Shekinah glory showing up. We all know what Shekinah glory is. Shekinah
Mm-hmm.
glory is that fire, that pillar of fire, where we see this Shekinah glory at the burning bush. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody talks about Kael glory. And there's
Right.
also the name of God. So
Mm-hmm.
here we go. We're talking about the identity, of an awakening of who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the name of God is Jehovah Kael, which
Mm-hmm.
means our strength, fear not. And
Mm-hmm.
so what God was showing me is that there is going to be a full awakening. There is going to be a full awakening of who you are in Him, because He said, "My people have to understand that there are so many elements and dimensions to who I am, that we
Mm-hmm.
cannot just limit Him to just Jehovah Jireh,
Right.
Shalom, the familiar." And
Right.
that's been the issue, is that we have become familiar with God, and we really have not begun to really tap into the other dimensions of Him. And
Mm-hmm.
how Kyle glory was exposed to me, here we go. I'm in worship. I'm singing, and prophetically, the heavens opens for me, and I hear. And He said,
Wow.
"You are a Kyle woman." And so I said, "What? What is that?" And so this is why it's imperative that when we worship, that we
Mm-hmm.
worship Him in spirit and in
And
truth,
true. Yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so here it is. He is releasing another dimension of who I am in worship. And so when He said, "You are a Kyle woman," then I begin to study it. And believe it or not, Kyle woman, we find her in Proverbs 31, the
Wow.
virtuous woman. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of times people say, women, say, "I am a virtuous woman." But to be honest, when it comes to that passage of that whole entire chapter, it's really a prophetic declaration, and that the man, the husband or the son, should declare it over the woman. So we
Right.
do it backwards, because, "Oh, I am the virtuous woman." And so we start declaring,
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 31. But
Mm-hmm.
really, it was a prophetic declaration. So therefore, my husband is supposed, is to declare that I am a Proverbs 31 woman. It was a
Mm-hmm.
prophetic declaration. And it also, and also in two, it also means, Kael also means man of valor. So we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about, men of valor, women of valor. And so I learned this in worship, in my
Mm.
private time.
Wow.
And so He says, "Now, daughter, is the time to let my people know about my Kael glory." And
Whew.
so this is a double glory. Shekinah glory, God is with you. And Kael glory, Christ in you.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Ah, this
Wow.
thing is like, and this thing was just so amazing. And so what He's been speaking to me is about the shift of those who are in identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
After Saturday, you should not leave the same. You should not,
Right.
and I know we say that cliches, but there is literally going to be an encounter and an awakening that happens where the Trinity, God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is going to literally collide with who you are, and you're going to be able to embrace. This thing is very, very prophetic to me, because I made peace with my yes.
Woo! Woo! That's a word right there.
I made peace with my yes in
My
this thing.
God.
I no longer fight against who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I also no longer feel as though that I need to be validated and affirmed by people.
Right.
God made me who I am. Therefore, I cannot help but to now walk in the totality of who I am. Because why? I understand the totality of who He is, which then means that God said, and even in this hour, that as we are shifting into the totality and the capacity of who we are in Him, He says, "Now I'm going to send people who have a revelation of who you are." See, when you called me, you had an understanding and a revelation of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you question and be like, "God, are you sure?" You
Mm-hmm.
still move out of obedience, and
Right.
they knowing that God was already dealing with me, and I was already preparing my yes and things of that nature. And so
Mm-hmm.
now, as I am, preparing for Saturday, the Lord is now dealing with me that the identity, the revelation, the
Mm.
awakening,
My
The
God.
fire of God. This is where we are going to see miracles, signs, and wonders. Those that have been struggling with suicide for years, but because of the presence of God, that's literally going to invoke and provoke and permeate the heart, in the atmosphere, in that place. They're no longer going to deal with suicide. They're not going to feel like they're less than. Those who have lost their confidence and their courage
Mm-hmm.
is going to be restored.
Wow.
And every person that's a part of the service literally has a key component
Mm-hmm.
to the identity crisis.
Yeah.
We've been walking. We some of us has been walking in the falsehood
Mm-hmm.
and having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. And so now this is, we have to understand that the reason why I got Jehovah Kael is going to show up our strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that this is an hour where we are literally going to need to be rooted and grounded in him, that
Yes.
we're not so easily moved and easily persuaded by every winning doctrine and run into this prophet and that prophet, but we don't understand or test the spirit by the spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This thing is going to be, just an amazing encounter and experience. This is definitely going to be like no other because
Wow.
of just the positioning of people. This thing
Yeah.
is just bigger than what we see. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
he has been, dealing with me,
Mm-hmm.
in reference to the service.
Woo! My Lord. Let me tell you something. When I asked you, and I was like, I just got finished talking to Brandy. I said, Lord, are you sure? Is this? He was like, I want you to call her and I want you to tell her exactly what I say. And it was crazy though, because I was like, I normally don't do this, but I'm asking you this. And you was like, I said, and then I think I said to you, pray about it or whatever. And then when you came circle back to me, you was like, it's funny that you asked me this because so
Yeah.
I am so excited. I'm excited, not just because we're just getting a group of people together, just because we want to say that we have service. We're coming together because what's coming down the pike, we need to be equipped for
Yes.
what's coming.
Hmm.
And this is going to be, like you said, this is going to be an encounter, an experience where people have no other recourse but to get in line,
Yeah.
period. They don't have no other recourse because of how God is going to show up.
Yeah.
And he's going to move us, he's going to shift us, he's going to shape us, he's going to strip some things from us, he's going to reaffirm some things, reinvigorate some things within us. I mean, I just, last night I had a dream about the encounter and all I saw was pure worship. That's
Yeah.
it. It was like, I was like, wow. And I even saw like a glory cloud. I just,
See,
amazing,
this
just
conversation.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so many times we get into those types of atmospheres and we don't even know what to do because we've never experienced that type of fire before. We've never been in that type of atmosphere where we get into a spot where we just don't know what to do because the glory of God is so heavy in one room. And
Yeah.
I believe that he is going to do exactly what he showed me, what he showed you, what he
Hmm.
showed
Prophetess Kenya.
Prophet Kenya. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy I see her on. Yeah. I mean, he's exactly gonna do that. And
Hmm.
I am crazy enough to believe that, in the atmosphere, there's going to be limbs growing back. There's going to be people
Mm.
that's going to be healed, delivered, set free,
Yeah.
hearing restored,
Yeah.
sight restored. I mean, we have to be in that posture where
Hmm.
this is what we want to see. We don't want to see the same old stuff. We want to see what Jesus did. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Exactly. And now, and this is why, and we have to understand, greater work shall we do. And
Mhm.
so how amazing, God reveals Kyle glory,
Yeah.
Christ in you.
Yeah.
So the true and living God, the power of God is in us, and that's what Kyle also means. It means power. It means
Mhm.
wealth. It means valor.
Mhm.
And we're literally going to see new dimensions of who God is. Some people really, you may not know who
Mhm.
Jehovah Gabor is,
Right.
but know that he is the God of war, and he'll,
Mhm.
and this is a fixed fight.
Yeah.
Some people may not know who Jehovah Saba is, the Lord
Mhm.
who fights for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
there's times where I call on, there's times in strategy and prayer where, oftentimes I've learned to utilize the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
Because the name of the Lord is what? Our strong
Strong
tower.
tower. That's
The
right.
righteous run in and they are safe.
Yep.
you
Yep.
know and
Mhm.
so he's our deliverer.
Mhm.
And so it's just amazing, and I'm just honored. I really am. I'm
Yes.
honored, I'm humble, and I just pray that God just really just however
Mhm.
he chooses. And it's so funny because I've always had these visions of myself
Mhm.
singing. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, there are things that I even want to do musically. And then how amazing, let me share this though. How amazing, God knew who I was. And so I married a musician.
Right.
My husband's a musician. And when I tell
Right.
you, because of what he has taught me,
Mhm.
as a musician, like he's actually helped me to understand like this is my sound.
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and he has given me instruction on how, I should move if I need a certain sound as a prophet.
Right.
And
Right.
so I have taken all of those things that he has, instilled in me and apply it. So I will stand confident on Saturday.
Yes.
Confident because of, one, what the Lord has revealed, and then he provides me with an amazing husband who is a musician and
Yeah.
he knows music, and things of that nature. So it's just God is just he's so intentional.
Yes, he is.
He's so intentional.
Yes, he is. And when we try to, sometimes when we think that God has forgotten us in one specific area, that
Yeah.
he pulls us right back around full circle and saying, no, you need to fulfill this assignment as far as what I've called you to. So yeah, I'm hyped. I am ready.
I
I'm
am.
excited. I'm ready. I'm just appreciative that you took the time today just to share your thoughts, your journey, and as well as share what God has downloaded to you as far as this particular date, this particular time, this particular dispensation. It's not just a regular event. It's an encounter. It's a spot where we need to resort back to our creator, back to who he has called us to be. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you said yes. And
Yes.
I'm grateful that we're going to be in a place of worship where we can't be concerned about who's doing what. God's going to do his thing and I'm excited about it. So, but yeah, thank you for coming on tonight. I For those that are looking and watching tonight, just know that I do have a couple of seats left. I had a couple of people that were able to come. So if you're interested in attending, just make sure that you reach out. You can reach out to me directly, or you can go to Eventbrite, and it is open for Morning Glory April 2023.eventbrite.com, and you can just grab your seat. We are dressed down, so we're not dressing up. We're going to be jeans, flats. We just going to let God have his way.
Right.
Well, I'm not, my ministry is not traditional. We're going to be lax in regards to dress. So just come as you are. I don't have a stipulation, but we just going to do what God said. And that's it. That's it. That's all. But listen, I appreciate you tonight, and I will see you on Saturday. If you need anything, please let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
And have a good night. And thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on Saturday. All right. See ya.